Series session, How to Start a Side Hustle or Business with Levi. My name is Jessica Wilson and I'm the Alumni Engagement Officer here at Montfort University. And this programme is part of our Alumni Speaker Series, which is designed to connect our community with inspiring DMU graduates who share their expertise on professional development, career insights, personal growth. So, the Alumni Speaker Series is led by the DMU for Life team, and our aim is simple. So we are here to help DMU graduates stay connected with the university and with one another. And we do this through things like our monthly newsletter, our online platform, DMU for Life, which now brings together more than 9,000 members worldwide. If you enjoyed today's session, we are always looking for alumni to reconnect with the university. And there are many ways to get involved and find out what we're doing through our quarterly alumni newsletter. So if you haven't heard from us in a while, please visit DMU, stay updated, stay connected. And I will pop this link in with the alumni details in the chat, and it will be followed up in the email as well. Before we begin, a little housekeeping. Please feel free to keep your cameras on or off, whichever you're most comfortable with. But we do ask you to keep your microphone muted, as you can see that it can be quite distracting. And so unless you're speaking, so if you do have your microphone on and you are muted by one of the administration staffs, please don't feel offended. It's just because we can hear some background noise. This session will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube, as I've said previously, and I do encourage you to get involved where there is conversation and scope for discussion, as this is where you will get the best out of the session. Today's topic is especially relevant for anyone who has ever wondered whether they could turn an idea into something more. Whether you're looking to earn some additional income, pursue a passion, or even lay the foundations for a future business, starting a side hustle can be an exciting but sometimes daunting prospect. At DMU, entrepreneurship is something we're passionate about supporting, and through DMU Made, the university offers students and graduates support to develop business ideas, access expert guidance, build entrepreneurial skills, and connect with opportunities to help turn ideas into reality. So if today's session inspires you to take that first step, there is support available beyond today's conversation. So I am delighted to introduce today's speaker, Levi. Levi is a DMU alumna and mortgage services consultant who has successfully built a business alongside her professional career. Through her entrepreneurial journey, she's gained first-hand experience on balancing full-time role whilst growing a business. She's going to talk about overcoming challenges, managing risk, and creating new opportunities. So please join me in welcoming Levi.
Hi, it's lovely to see you all, and what a great turnout. I'm very excited. Thank you for spending some time to join me today. As we've spoke about previously, it is to start a side hustle or business. Sometimes they come hand in hand. This is my first talk on starting a side hustle, so you might need to bear with me, and I'm going to get some questions from yourselves, and feel free at the minute to drop any ideas you've had or any questions or anything that you might think that's relevant just into the chat box now, so I can really tailor today's session to help you guys. If there's anything that you don't feel comfortable with sharing, obviously it's on YouTube. There is places out there to speak to somebody, and you are welcome to message me, for example, on the L&B Vending Instagram account, or message me on LinkedIn as well, because we're all here to help each other. Now, I have created a bit of a slideshow. I haven't put much on the slides because I don't feel like we read them when we're having a chat like this. It's mainly some photos to keep everyone engaged because it's very hot and we don't want it to be too overwhelming. There's a lot to cover, and it is very much tailored to what you want to do. So any messages or anything that you particularly want to start a business on, At least then I can give you some examples that's a bit more targeted, but don't feel any pressure. You might come out of this and think, I've got a million questions. That's okay too. At least I know I've done the job properly. Bit of background. So at the start, I was a first class law graduate. And then I was like, oh my God, I've done a lot of work experience in different fields. Do I want to go into law? And at the moment, the answer was no. I didn't feel like it was really a role for what I wanted out of my 20s. And I did a bit of self-reflection and I realised how better to help my clients and get a bit of life experience, a bit of business experience, and then potentially in the future go back into the field. But I'm very happy as a mortgage advisor at the minute and having my business. So I had a sum of money working 3 jobs, trying to pay for the bar. Now, any law student will know how expensive the bar is, and they will know how much you have to save because you don't get paid great straight away. And that's a sacrifice that you're expecting when you go into that job. But I had a sum of money and I thought 2 options. I could either blow it or I could test it. So I thought I'd test it into a bit of a lower risk business. Now, this wasn't the first business I tried, and I do want to let you guys know there will be a point where you start in business and it doesn't work. And that's okay because you've learned certain skills. So for example, for me, I started a flower company when I was going through my graduation. My nan was great at flowers. My mum loved flowers as well. So it was just something that I was surrounded with. I quite enjoyed it, but it wasn't really practical because I couldn't really compete with the big people like Moonpig and their delivery service. Thought a bit about fake flowers, but it was quite timely to put them together. So that was a bit of a venture. It's quite expensive. I was using a bit cheap materials to start with. A lot of people were doing similar things, and I wasn't creative in that way. So after testing it, it didn't really work for me, but I learned how to use Etsy. I learned a bit about materials, a bit about the target market. So it's quite transferable. And just because it didn't financially succeed doesn't mean that it didn't succeed in the aim of learning how to run a business. I then, after this business actually, needed to get a bit of money together, wanted to purchase a house. So I thought, how do I do it quickly? Thought me and my partner could make bars, like wooden bars during, I think it was like during this quieter period when I was working in sales, and then it didn't work. People didn't want it on Facebook. It was quite time consuming again. So reason why I'm mentioning this is because this business was not my first one and there's a lot of gaps between it. Now we'll cover it a bit more later on, but just to give you a outside view. Let me just see if there's anything to see in the messages. Bear with me. Now, don't worry if there's anything you don't feel comfortable sharing, but was there anything that people wanted to tailor in this session? Any ideas they wanted to practice at all? Just feel free to send a message and I'm sure Jess will let me know. If I go mute, just shout me.
I know that I would like to know tips and tricks for starting a business. I like to know, like, I don't know, what kind of organizational tools did you use? Because that would be helpful and attainable, I think, for me.
Yeah, so I'll definitely add some practical tips. Got a little notepad with some on. So we've already found that and I'll go through it as well. Thank you. So today's agenda, I'm going to go through coming up with the idea. So it's going to be like a journey as if we're making the business together. We're going to go through researching the company, execution, risks and resilience, social media and networking, and then we're going to have a Q&A if you have any questions or if you feel comfortable saying anything. I'm going to add some photos to it and I'll talk you through them as well. This is a photo of my very heavy stock that I have to carry in and out that I almost drop every time. So, and luckily for me, it's in a nice location and people always hold the door, which is really cute. So the idea, you've got a position, you know, you want to start a business and you could be on anyone. So you could have been in your company already, so you've got a bit of background on how a business is run, which is brilliant. It could be you're very fresh, you're coming out of university, still studying. No matter what position you're in, we have to come up with an idea. I would say your first point is understanding yourself. Now, I want you to do some self-reflection. What skills do you have? What's your previous knowledge? So, for example, I know a bit about the legal side of things, so I knew what the company needed in that sense. Didn't really know much about accountancy, so I know that I need to outsource that. And then I did a reflection on, I didn't take great photos. So I know that I need to practice with marketing, creating logos. So I did a bit of reflection on myself as a business owner. You could do this if you want to do a partnership too. And that's where you start. Once you know who you are, how you want to run the business, any particular goals that stand out for you, for example, is it to learn certain skills? Is it to help the community? Is it to, earn money? And there's no shame in saying you want to earn money. I mean, in the job that I'm in, we very much talk about it. We very much push it. And we know that it's a big reward system. So if that's the way it is, then let's do that and let's embrace that. Now you know a bit about, you've done a bit of reflection, and I would say brainstorm it, talk it back to somebody, get to know what you look like in other people's views. So I sat with my father, for example, spoke a bit about how I would do it, what I'm like as a person, did it with my sister, spoke to it about like my mentors, and then I kind of got this really good picture. Now you change, you would evolve over time anyway, so you always look at it. Now the idea, what do you do? What business do you start? I got my idea from obviously having this sum of money. It was an asset that I could sell, so it was low risk. And I saw it online a bit, but I felt like the videos on YouTube, for example, with vending machines are quite unrealistic. They don't tend to talk about, for example, the market's quite monopolised. It's quite overwhelming. It's hard to get a location. So I felt like I knew there was a lot of problems with it. However, how could I do it very different? So a machine is the way a machine is. It's passive. Nothing's ever passive. And that's something I do want you to take away. Just because you're not there every day selling something doesn't mean that it's not passive. So back to the point of the idea, I thought it's low time, which it is, and I can still do a career out of it as well as it's at the side. So I thought vending machines, I can add something a bit creative. Can I add the logo? What can I put in the machines? It was something a little bit boring that I can make a bit more exciting. And that's why I chose it. And I knew if it didn't go right, the worst that's going to happen is I'm going to lose the money for the stock and maybe a percentage of the machine. Best case scenario, I'm breaking even, I'm learning, I'm earning some money, and I'm creating some great contacts on the way. So the idea is not going to come up straight away. I had about 20 ideas written on my notepad, evaluating each one. So you can have an idea, then you can research it, which we'll talk about later. Doesn't work, you try again. But longer, if you're trying to find the idea that works for you and works for your life, then that's where you start. And this may not take a while, you may already know, but that's what we come to. From this idea, you almost highlight the top 3, for example, and then you go and research and plan. So what does it look like in your current schedule and maybe your future schedule? So for example, I am 23 now. When I was coming out of university, I had a lot of time. However, I knew I would start a full-time job. So I can't do vending machines with a full-time job. So these hours have to be either a job where I can take my time back, or a job, or the locations have to have Saturdays and Sundays, or they have to be open till past what I would be working, which they did. So it was realistic with my time. Then I looked into what was the market like. Did it sell? Did it work? What have people issues with? So for example, issues here, location, not selling, it's very up and down, seasonal. So I was very aware of the issues may raise beforehand. A lot of things that I didn't know, how much vending machines fail or people think they fail and they're just not tapping it right, which stressed me out, which we'll talk about later. And then there was what I did was at the start, I read some books, I watched some YouTube videos. There's a lady called Meg that I watched quite a lot of. TikTok's got loads of small content. Take it with a punch of salt because chances are you're only seeing the highlights. There's not always the negatives. So, for example, your Grace Beverley, she gives really good business plans and like the positives and the negatives. So you need to know what you're coming against and how resilient you could be. So once you sort of research the area you're going into, you need to do some market research. So you've took out everybody else's research. Now you need to do your own. So what I did was I created a questionnaire and I sent it to everybody. I was like, please share this for me. There's no point me investing into anything. And at the minute, I'm only investing my time. And this is really good information and knowledge for me to use and skills anyway. So please share this with everyone. I just posted it and I continue to keep updating my market research as well. I did find the research that I had, what people said they wanted and what they actually wanted was two different things, but it was a very good starting point. So for example, I did get some silly replies of what they wanted in the machines, like monsters, and I can't ID, so 18 and over, it was a bit impractical depending on the area. They wanted things for less than £1. I then could research what I'd buy them for and realised that I wanted a markup of a minimum of 60% and realised, yeah, I can't afford to do that. So it's a great starting point to then further your research. They also said Snickers and Mars. I brought well too much stock for that and ended up losing like £50 on just stock because I have just gone off what people told me, and that's not always true. So once you've learned and the actual company itself, now you need to start doing the basics, and we want some planning. Your basics being, have you got a logo? A lot of people say start without a logo. You can do, but do you know how to make a logo? Do you know who to read up on or how to create this and what you want? What's your intentions of the company? What's your background? Is it, for example, for me, it's having fun and creative and local support for the vending machines. And at the minute, I do feel like my logo's a little bit out of line in that, and that's something that I'm working on now. But creating that logo, Canva, really good start. There's loads of videos on YouTube how to use Canva. There's loads of free courses, and reach out if you have an idea and I can help you find some courses. Obviously, you can pay for courses as well, but I'm just taking it, trying to keep costs low at the minute. Canva AI helps you generate. However, disclosure, don't make it too AI because we can tell, people can tell. So we want it really nice. We've got a basic logo and you can change it. Like you can change your logo in the future. Do you know how to post online? Do you know when to post these things? Like a bit of research. For example, your LinkedIn and your Instagram, polar opposites. Is it your personal LinkedIn? Is it the company LinkedIn? When's the best time for your customer base to see these posts? And who are you posting for? So that helps you kind of get in the mind of your customer. And it also helps with marketing because I very much wish I started marketing at the very start. I publish on Instagram, for example, on LinkedIn, for example, about my story. However, I wish I did the company very early because I think it makes some great content and it makes it really realistic. So, for example, here in the Reach coaching, I did that before I started the company. Went to a session. He was really lovely. It was a free session just to come about. I think the coaching does cost money, so I didn't go ahead with that because I needed to keep costs low. But if you see in the middle, there's loads of books that they recommend. It's nice to be in the room, just break that barrier. So you're in a room with professionals that are talking things that you don't even know yet, like exit plans, their issues and their coaching. So it gives you some ideas, and you're now surrounding yourself with the right people. And that's a massive start. Once you start surrounding yourself with the right people, you start asking the right questions. And I know it seems like there's a lot of research and planning at the start. However, once you get in the habits of these things, it becomes natural. And these things aren't something that you just stop. You continue to do this throughout the business. And that's why I really say to focus on this at the start, create your pillars in place, and everything else will come to plan. So now you've kind of done a bit of coaching, reading some books, watching some YouTube videos to start with on how to run a company. Now you need to look at some numbers. So use, for example, what you see online, test it. So for example, is it 200 people that cross past my vending machine? What's the likelihood of somebody stopping in there? And how much would they likely spend? Those sort of things. And what I really enjoyed doing at the start was creating a 5-year plan for this random business that I haven't even started. And I promise you now, that 5-year plan was so unrealistic and it was so out of touch. But by doing so, I created a goal for myself, which motivated me to get this done. If it isn't in your calendar, chances are you're not going to do it, even if you have a lot of time. So I used just a basic Outlook calendar or my iPhone one because it was really convenient. I did write some of it down because I like ticking it off, but I did use my basic one because when you're in business, things just come to your mind all the time. So you need like your phone, which you've always got with you. My 5-year plan at the start looked like, what did I want to achieve in the first year? Now I put 8 machines, not realistic. If you expand your business too fast, the business can close and collapse and you can be losing money. So now I take the approach, I'd rather slowly create the building blocks and then advance my locations, getting the right ones, rather than spending loads of money on vending machines and assets that might not be useful and a company can just say, I don't want it anymore. In the 5-year plan, I put a very unrealistic earning potential. A lot of people say you're going to earn money straight away. Chances are I've done it as a side hustle because I've got a job that's paying my income and the company will not earn you enough money to live off straight away. That's the general term it's going to be. And that's why people do it on the side. If not, get some savings, be prepared. How long are you going to test it? First year of a business, that's when a lot of companies close. Just to make you aware of, can you push through that? So if you get over a year, that's brilliant news. As things come, where can you divert? Keep on track of what's coming up. So you've kind of got all those things worked out. You've got your 5-year plan. What do you want from the company? What does the company want from you? What do your customers want from the company? Numbers aren't everything. You want to see the personal side of it too. So in my 5-year plan, I'll keep referring back to it so you have some ideas. I wrote that I wanted to go to 5 networking events. Now, that meant that I was in a good room and that meant that I could use that for the business. And that was why I did it. But there's no monetary value I could put on that at the time. I was spending money on these tickets. I also put that I wanted to donate a box of like goods, like for example, crisps, chocolate, sweets to charity every couple of months. And I did that and I'm very happy that I gave to the community. And then I also put something like, I want to grow my social media by X amount. That's monetary, I could do that. And I also said that I wanted to work with youth, which I reached out and did. So the business could be a vessel as well. So look at more than just what you want to earn at this point for your future plan, because chances are you're not earning straight away and it does help you motivate in the times that you're not earning. And I did that through balancing ideas with ChatGPT, Claude, which you can do courses on Claude and ChatGPT, how to do them, how to use them to the best ability. I was bouncing ideas with them. I was creating a 5-year plan and just had it on my Word document. I have a vision board that I've put it on. So all those things keeps you aware of it. You keep changing it every quarter. So at this point, I'm pretending like it's straight away. It's a real business. Every quarter, I'm checking it. So I've started planning. I'm ready to go now. I have found the machine that I wanted to buy from. For me, I was balancing between cost and practicality. So don't forget, previously when I did the flower business, maybe if I brought better materials straight away, it wouldn't have been the issue. I knew that I couldn't fix a machine. I knew that I needed someone to train me. So as you see the man here, he was teaching me and my partner, who helps me with these sort of things, just because he knows about it, how to fix the machines. So I was learning. So my investment into a new machine was worth it because it come with a warranty. And in the longer picture, I was trained how to fix the machines. So for me, the cost base, it was worth doing. I knew who I was going to buy it from. I knew where I was going to get the materials. I thought, oh, I don't want to spend any money on a Costco card. So what I did, and it can be transferable, I did it from B&M, and obviously it cost more at the start, and I did charge more at the start. And I did it from B&M, just put very minimum amount in there. I didn't use Costco or Booker's because I didn't know any of them really existed. Costco has to pay for an annually membership. As soon as I earn enough money to do that, that's when I brought one. So now I have the machine. So for example, you've got your first stock, you've got your first poster that you want to sell, everything's in place. Test it. So what I did, I was quite lucky. I found a location in a garage that let me test it for a year. If it worked, then I was going to continue. If it didn't, I was going to sell it. So I put the garage in there. I tested the top brands that they said, brought well too much stock, which in hindsight, what I could have done is brought a couple of them, tested that, and then gone my way. Once I did the B&M to the Costco, I got excited in Costco, and anyone that's been in there ends up spending well too much, and we bought unnecessary things, as we do. From that point, I could have brought less of them, and in hindsight, I would have tested that with less. So for example, if you're in fashion, post what you'll sell. So create an Etsy link, whatever platform you want to use, create your online website and say, drop sale, we're selling this top at this time, buy them. If they sell out, brilliant, you know it works. You've got the manufacturer that you want to use anyway, you've got the idea, you're ready to go, then press order. If there's a bit of a delay, you can always write a hand letter note, you can throw in some extra goodies, appease your customers at the start, but you're not losing money on something that may not work. A lot of time in business, things are very weather dependent, there's trends, a lot of these things change. So that's why I'm really saying, like, you know, continue to test things before buying them so you don't lose money. And you don't lose your time either. And there will be times when you mess up, and that's fine. That's fine. You're not lost too much, you're good. So now we have the stock ready to go. We're then looking at building the company. So you've tested it, you're starting to get people selling. How are you sort of doing the admin? I overcomplicated admin well too much. And at that point, I had a big sheet. I was trying to write down every stock, how much it sold. And I was evaluating things too much. And I do feel like sometimes you can evaluate numbers, and that's what we should be doing. However, you can focus in on it too much. I took it back, compared it per machine rather than per item. And that for me really works. So for example, you guys, you could post, you could compare per, you know, your tops compared to your trousers. You could compare, you know, your timing. So for example, at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, rather than like 12:30, 12:05. It overcomplicates it, and you're very much at the start, and you need to embrace being at the start because people will take a chance on you. Gives you a bit of a USP. I got into doors because I was starting up as a company. I was trying my best. I was quite young. My USP, I was getting through to the community, and it worked. Once I came up with an admin strategy that worked for me and a tracking system, I used Google Docs because I then didn't need to pay for Microsoft. So Google Docs worked for me. I then had an email set up, so they worked. Just a little tip, when you set up a email, they do go into junk, tends to go into junk. So at the start, just double check that people are actually receiving your emails, because chances are they might not be. So at this point, you've got your admin sorted. You've got a system that sort of works for you that you test in. Always go back to it every month. Is the system continuing to work? Am I continuing to be able to keep up with this? Like, can I count the money every month? Can I count the money every time that I go to the machine? Do I know what I'm losing? Do I know what I'm gaining? Chances are I'm not earning enough, but am I on the right projection to earn? And at what point will I do this projection? During this time of your admin, I created a pitch deck and I continue to track it. So Google Docs has the charts that you can keep your data on. Now, if I looked back at it, I could have used AI. You can use Claude and have little agents. So what works for me that may work for you is I created AI agents and made them employees of my business. My outgoings are very minimum. I wasn't paying myself anything, but this is something I'm using now. I have my marketer, I have my customer service, I have my social media and branding, I have my, finances, accountant. So I have an agent for each role in the company, and I overshadow it and make sure that they're doing it to the right ability, and I continue to learn my AI skills. And that's how I sort of manage my time as well, because it really does help. It's nothing like a bit of human ideas and presence in it, so don't rely on it, but it is a very good tool to help you because you are doing everything on your own that you haven't done before, and you're not going to know how to do it either. So like, you're learning and AI will teach you as it goes. I want you reaching out to people that have done it. Best thing you do is have somebody to go to for every scenario. So if, for example, I have a mentor that is brilliant at being stern to the point, I know to ask her with certain things and how to be a bit pushy. I have a mentor that has marketing. She's really good with that, so I go and ask her questions on that. So if you have the person and you know where to ask questions, it's a really good start. So now you've got the company, you've got the admin sorted, you've got the habits ready. You are now looking at how I'm balancing my time. I work long hours as a mortgage advisor. Some days I can go into the office and it be completely dead. And some days it can be so busy that I don't know what to do. Now, this is going to be a bit controversial. I do very much believe that your support system is really important at this point. So your network is your net worth, as everyone says, but it's true. So for example, if I am feeling very drained from work, I know that I could go tomorrow. So I set expectations with my clients. I don't say I will turn up every Saturday on the month. I know that's not plausible. So I say I'll make sure the machine's always filled to this ability, to this fullness. Sometimes it's good that it's empty because it creates that sense of building. And then we go in and set expectations. I manage my time. I manage my time by blocking out my calendar. And as my partner will say, I have a to-do list out my ears. I write a to-do list every day because chances are you've got that much going on in your head that you can't do it all. Your brain's not going to take it all in. So I'll just give you an example. Say if I have a plain sheet, I have different sections. So my to-do list at the top, I have my mortgage advisor job. I write all my to-do lists there. I have my vending machine company, write all my to-do lists there, and my home. So we have to manage so much. You have to manage your home, your career, your education. We have to manage all these areas of your life. You need to outline every area of your life and have a to-do list ready for it. So if you have an idea or if something comes up, you can move these things around. So I've had a really busy day. I need to fill up a machine. What am I going to do? Because I really don't want to, and I'm getting stressed out. I know what motivates me. I go get a coffee. I go get a chocolate. I go and bring my sister and say, or my partner, can you please come to the machine with me, or my parents, can you fill it up for me? I don't tend to let people fill it up for me, only because I want to make sure that my clients know I'm there. However, if there's the days where you're really low, you need to accept that you're low and work off the energy that you're currently having. Because, for example, for women, our cycle means that we have different moods, different energies. Embrace it, understand yourself, and plan around it. Your calendar, colour coordinate it. I find a great way of doing it. I just use my classic calendar, and that works for me. I don't tend to do too much on making big fancy journals. I just kind of have a straight up book because it's scrapped. Like, you scrap these things down and every day it changes. I do have a cute diary, but it's just, if you like it sort of feeling to like aesthetic, do it. Like, if it works for you, do it. But for me, it didn't. I tried it, didn't work. And then very much having that person to speak to and say, it's overwhelming me today. Can you cook dinner? Or can I order out? You know, what works in your schedule? Is it worth me going to the machine today in this bit? Or can I do something and add a new poster to the machine and do it tomorrow, but it's worth me waiting? It's weighing up your time like that. There'll be times where you can't do it all. And I pushed myself really hard and got very burnt out and very stressed because I did believe I could do it all. And I love being like toxically positive or stupidly positive. I believe I can do everything in a stupid amount of time. But now I've started putting times on it. So I know it's going to take me 45 minutes in Booker's to get all my stock. I know that because I've done it so many times and I track that. So in my calendar, I will put a note after and say how long it took me. I know that now my social media, because I've kind of created my own communication, I've shown my personality, I know how to write them now. It used to take me an hour to do all of it, plan for the week. And scheduling your social media is a really good tip, but it takes me 30 minutes now, if that. So I know now, and I write notes about how long things take, and that will help balance it. If you can't do it all, put your top 3 in and feel very rewarded to do the top 3. Things can wait. People can wait. That's the best thing I learned. I was very stressed thinking like, oh, they're going to hate me. A bit of people pleaser in there. And I'm sure people here will deal with that and have had it. I want to make sure it's the best for my customers. I want to make sure it's best for my clients. I don't want to have them missing out. I don't want to miss out on money. You could be missing out on a couple of quid, but it's here or there. Like, it's worth doing just to look after yourself. And if you do need to put something on the next day, I always just give myself a pat on the back about being flexible. So now you've sort of managed your time. I know there's a lot in the execution, so bear with me on that. You're managing your time and you've got to a point where the business is working steady. You started it, you're excited by it, but you feel a little bit more stagnant. So, and that does happen, and that should happen because you should feel like you continually want to improve the company. The company's never at the point where it's going to work all the time. You need to keep reflecting on it. So at that point, I kind of wrote everything that I thought worked well with the company, everything that I thought didn't work. And just because I thought it worked well doesn't mean it doesn't, or it does. So then I started speaking to people, reaching out to my customers, saying what works well, what do you want to see, keeping that communication, getting my face out there and networking, trialing things. So going to speak to a network and be like, if you saw this on the machine, what would you think? And then I went back and I created a plan for it. So what I did was I realised admin took me a bit too long and I didn't really know how to track my outgoings, and I got into a cycle that I was putting like a number of monthly and it just wasn't working. So I tried a different way in the month and I went to ChatGPT or Claude, whoever you use. So this isn't working for me. This is why it's not working for me. What can I do about it? Generated an answer. I tried it and it works. It might be the case you try it and you think, oh, that's not really going to work for me. And then put a bit more detail, a bit more personality. Why is it not working? And what do you want from it? Might be the case that, for example, you've got a couple of months in and you feel like the logo doesn't really match with your new updated self because you thought you were going in for finance and then you come out and think, I really enjoy the people in there, I want to work with them. You want to add a bit of community to it. You want to add the logos a bit fun. So work on that. This doesn't need to be done straight away. You can slowly work on that. I know my network, my mentor, Simran, she's really good. She's lovely. You probably see her in De Montfort all the time. She changes her logo all the time, and it works really well. So that's an example of what you could do. We at L&B Vending has little mascots. That's what I developed to have a bit of fun with it. And I felt like maybe the company looked a bit corporate, didn't feel like there was much of a face behind it the way I wanted to. So I added a mascot, a bit of fun, because I know there's kids buying from there. I went to, for example, I've got one in Sports in Desford. I went to events in the area to see who's about, what they're doing there, and that worked. I had some companies that just didn't want to have that sort of level of personality in it. Like, for example, your garage, they don't really care. They just want to go in, go to work, grab a few cans and in the heat, and that be it. And that's okay, that you're starting to understand your presence. Companies getting stagnant, your admin's getting easier, you're continuing to reflect, you're working on your logos, you're understanding the elements of the company, and this is all slowly coming together. There's a day where something doesn't go right, you learn how to problem solve at every point, you learn how to manage expectations. And the best tips I have for managing expectations is, if you feel like it's getting too much, communicate. So, for example, I said I was going to come to Sid on Saturday. I said, okay, I was going to come on Saturday. However, there's been a bit of an issue. I am going to come on Sunday. I'm going to bring some Haribos for the kids as well that have a karate session or whatever. You managed the expectations. You understood that you didn't turn up when you said you were going to do it, but just ignoring them doesn't help. And it's easy to brush your problems under the carpet. But if you own up to any issues, if you own up to something you're not doing well, that is the best way to progress in a company, I found. You manage your own expectations from what you expect in yourself, which is a very good point that I think that people should take by. And then you get into a position, what's your future goals? You keep reflecting your plans, and you just learn from doing. You want to trial something, like something random, like here, I put snow on the machines, like fake snow at Christmas. It was a bit of fun. You know, it probably did a little bit on getting people in, but it made me happy and I had some excitement and it was refreshing. You see at the bottom, as I was starting to get a bit stagnant, I was trying to work on my marketing. And that's when I put like my new spot and add a bit of fun to it. I do want to start adding more to that, and I think images say a million things. Tips for your social media I'll go on to anyway. We'll talk a bit more about execution as we go through, but that was a bit of an overview for you. Risks and resilience, we've spoke a bit about previously. Now, risk is in everything. We risk to get in the car. We risk speaking to somebody over the counter. We risk walking down the road. You have to weigh up your risks. My risk was very minimum and I was willing to take the loss. And that's why I did it. However, do I want to risk going back and losing my time? I was okay with it because I was learning skills. Might be the case that you're not. And then you in a few years' time might be like, oh, that was a great place. You just need to trust yourself. There's financial risk to owning a company. There's a risk of not spending time with your family. I do have to give up my personal hours. I'm happy to do so because I do now manage my time better. I know there was issues where I wasn't always turning up to my friends, and you need to be honest about that. I'm setting up a company. You know, I might be a bit MIA, missing action. I might not be able to come to your birthday sometimes, but what I will do is I'll set a time for us to go. You might need to cancel last minute. So you are risking relationships with people. You need to be aware of the fact that business isn't all la-di-da. You need to know that there's issues coming about and you're ready for them. If you can be okay with that, because I'm going to be honest throughout this point, then that's brilliant. Because what I do now is, for example, if I'm giving up a Saturday, I will see him on the Sunday. If my sister cleans the house because I have to do something, I'll then cook, and it's working that balance. You do risk, obviously, your finances. It could be the fact that you're living in a house and your mortgage. Do you have enough safety points? You need to know when to come and when to go. So that comes with trusting your business gut, and you have to know when to let go. Sometimes the company isn't earning money and there will be another one in the future. What I did at the start, I should have reinvested more into the company. I knew when to stop putting my own money and let the company work for itself. It does now. So I don't need to put anything into this company now. It works for itself. It's only time. So that's what you need to get to a point at. When is this break-even point? What's the risk if we don't do it by X time? It's just being aware of them. And there will be things that come up randomly. So, for example, risk, have you got your business insurance? I need business insurance of a certain amount to put my machines in case they go fire, something like that. Just to give you another heads up about risk, but slightly goes on to execution. How are you setting this company up? Are you setting it up as a limited, sole trader? How are you setting the company up? I can't tell you how to do that. You have to kind of watch some videos, work out what works for yourself. Now, I set the company up as a limited company. Reason being is I wanted to keep it very separate to my identity, and I did have a plan to be a hire, that I wanted to earn a lot of money with my employment. So I wanted to keep it very separate, and that's why I've done the way I've done it. However, you don't have to do that. You need to be aware that what address you put in on your limited company, because people can see it. You might want to pay for a company's house address that you can pay for with solicitors. But if you've got any questions in regard to that, there's some really good advice on the government website. There's people you can speak to specifically for that. Set your company right straight away. That's a risk that's not worth doing. So make sure that you definitely knowing where you're going, and things can change, and there's always ways to get around things and work on them, but that's a good start. Rejection. Now, rejection is going to happen in everywhere of your life. We've all experienced it. I mean, the DMU students are going to know what it's like to come out of uni, getting rejected, to job interviews, to work experience. We've all done it when we've gone into a job anyway. I kind of see, in some aspects, not everything, but no as a challenge. So if they've said no, why have they said no? How can I get a yes next time? What did I pitch different? I'm very cheeky with what I say. So, for example, if somebody says no to me, I say why, and as you should be. So you get a better understanding. If I did X, would you reconsider? Is it a straight up no? Is it just because I'm new? Do you want a more established company? And I write down why they're rejected, and I keep that tracked. Now, what that means, I can work on the company and improve it, but also when I become, for example, more established, I can go back to that company and say, I've got X amount, can I come back? You will get a lot of no's, and that's okay, because no's create challenge, creates passion, and it means that you need to prove them wrong. At the very start of the process, you will get people being a bit apprehensive. I know there was a point where my dad was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm sure, I want to do this. And you have to say no to them sometimes, and you have to show them why. And then after, they're sometimes supportive. So rejection can be at the very start. You can be pushing an idea that nobody else believes in, and it might be the case that it fails, but this idea is yours, you've created it, and you want to give it a go. Resilience, what can you do to kind of make yourself feel better? So if you've had, this is other than side hustle, I think that sales job that I'm in right now is a very good example of rejection. For example, when you're in a estate agency, you do call outs to speak to people. You get a lot of non-answers, or if you're in a phone, when you're phoning out, you get a lot of no's. Sometimes you need to take an hour because the no's are getting a lot to you, and there's no point you continuing to push this if you're in a bit of a lower mood. So go out, recharge, and then come back. If you see the photo in the bottom right hand side, there's a photo of me having a little solo date in Leicester, spoiling myself on an expensive coffee. but it was really cute and I really enjoyed it and I needed it. Did a bit of admin and then I thought, oh, I'll sit in there and make myself feel better. So you need to know your coping mechanisms. You need to see the end goal, because sometimes you have to go back and you've got all your goals written down. Go back and have a look at them. Like, why am I pushing myself like this? This is why. This is what I want to achieve. Some weeks will be quite boring. Some weeks will be very full on. You might have a very full on month, and go book yourself a holiday if you can afford it. I understand everyone's life's different, but or go walk around the, like a house or a garden centre. Go something that makes you happy and keep learning what makes you happy, because the better you know yourself and your own finances, which is also a tip from me. I'm big on learning your finances, understanding your budgets, because if you budget yourself and you know what's coming in and out of your own outgoings, you can do it with a company as well. So learn your own finances first. Then it's easier with the company. You learn what makes you happy and what makes it easier for you, do it. Like, that's the best way to keep a business going. I would say evaluate things monetary. So there's times where I could go to a machine and fill it up and I could earn X amount, or I could take a call that potentially could earn me more. I have to make those risks, and my business that I had came a little bit more second because I knew I'd earn more money doing this and I could do the other thing at another point. So you're weighing up, you're continuously problem solving, you're continuously having to make hard decisions, and you need to take some time at the end of the week to kind of reflect on it and embrace it and be proud of yourself. So also enjoying things. I enjoy networking events, that's why I do it, and it also gives me fresh ideas. So if you're having a bit of a quiet month and you're feeling like a bit drained, go to an event, and then you'll come up with all these new ideas, people to chat to, and it's easier to do it in person. They have this idea for your company, and an outsider's perspective is really useful, that you don't always expect. So for example, somebody that's working in the legal field or the, florist might have a very different perspective on your company than you do. They don't know the market, but what they do have is an idea that you don't have to work your head 24/7. You've thought about it. They come in, fresh mind, fresh perspective, give you a really good idea. Thank them for it. Appreciate the people that you're having along the way. Now, what I would want to do with social media, and I'm going to wrap it up quickly. Social media, create a plan, prepare it, find your community, and we spoke a bit about it. I've showed you a few photos to make it a bit fun. Showed you a bit about some photos of some events that I've went to and that I'm passionate about. So that's kind of all from me at the minute. Is there any questions? I'm just going to pull it back. Do you guys have questions?
Levi, there's so many questions and I don't know where you want to start. If you pop into the chat, you can see, and maybe you can pick the ones that you feel best to pose to answer.
Sorry guys, I know it went a bit long. I didn't see the time because it was on full. I will go from here. How do you think you can start putting feelers out for an idea without risking someone poaching your ideas? Any tips on managing that? I appreciate it's difficult. Yes, that's a really good point. So people will have similar ideas to you anyway. If you are very selective with the audience you're putting it out to, people can get to your idea first. We're loads of people in the UK, chances are they've come up with your idea before, but can you execute it before them? And what makes you separate? So when you come up with this idea, find the USP to this idea and then test that, and can you execute it faster than these people? And make sure that the first thing people think of this idea is you. So your branding at this point was very important. So be out there, be the first one to talk about it and say, this is the idea I've come up with. Do your market research and make sure that as soon as somebody thinks of this idea, they think of you. So no matter if somebody else jumps on the bandwagon, chances are they can and they will. For example, Shein copies a lot of other ideas and they come up with their own, but there's chances are it's going to get copied. But at that point, your brand reputation will really hold you. And can you execute it plan? Have you got an execution plan? I think that'll safeguard you in that one. Let me have a look. How did you have the perseverance to keep going when facing challenges? Sometimes I had a cry. Like, crying's not always a bad thing. I had a little cry, got rid of my emotions, went to a rage room. That really helped. I very much enjoyed smashing one up. There's some in Leicester if you're there, and there's loads in the city. But looking at goals, reflecting on why you're doing it, and understanding that challenges are essential. And even if you didn't have this business, challenges are going to come up in your life anyway. So you might as well challenge yourself intellectually. And if challenges aren't happening, you're not pushing yourself to the point where you want to be, and intellectually as well. So I think perspective will really help with that, and challenges, embrace them, because that's just going to advance you and your company. At what point with your previous ventures did you decide to call it quits? When I realised that it wasn't making financial sense for the future rather than now, and when I realised I didn't enjoy it and it wasn't time for me, you'll start to get a business gut, which I really like the saying of, and you know when a company's not for you and other people are just doing it better than you, and you have to accept that. So for example, flower business, you had those people that making it on TikTok, Instagram, they just made it better than me, and I wasn't willing to compete with them. So once I lost my passion, I knew it wasn't for me. If you start creating a bigger business and you lose your passion, create an exit plan before leaving, because that will help. How did you manage your time? It sounds like you're moving on to this point in a bit. Yeah, I moved on to it a little bit, but do you have any ideas? You can put your calendar, for example, into AI or speak it through with someone. It might be the case that you just over-egg in some time. And I create buffer zones, so I create reflection points, and because I always think that things are going to take quicker. I know that, so I create like buffer zones just to help me out, so I'm not stressed. External support. So obviously there was a lot of less startups. I've seen a lot about there. They're good. I had networking. I had like business coaching. I did my own little research and courses. I spoke to business owners, bounced ideas off them. I very much used my support network with my family and friends. And if you can't find it, the support to network, send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram, and we can look at what you're doing and what you're looking for, and I can try and help you find the right network to fit in. And the biggest thing about networking, just because you're not in the room with the same people, which I went to an in the room event, doesn't mean that you're not going to learn the same. So we had all different people, and you'd be surprised how much you advance in yourself by being in a room with people completely different to yourself. And I'd say that's a nice bit to get to. YouTube is the video is going to be uploaded. Oh, you got it. Are you set up as a limited company? I am, yeah. Which just means it's going to be more costly on my, accountancy and stuff like that. It was a risk I was balancing, and I was worth taking. Is there anything I'd do differently? That's a nice question. I would obviously be more cautious with my stock, be more cautious with my time, and probably be more reflective. Have we got enough time to answer the rest of the questions, Jess?
I think if you're really quick, if people can stay for 5 minutes, if you want your question answered for 5 minutes, I think 5 minutes we can do.
And anything I don't answer, just message me. Risk register, mitigation plan. I have like a handbook. So if an employee started with me, for example, I would have a handbook. If they can read it and they know exactly how to do the company, that's how I do mitigation, and then I upload it and update it. Listening to customers' opinions, I write them down, and I've got used to being salesy with them. So as long as they're benefiting from something I'm saying, very much shows what is it in it for them, what is it in it for them. Really good use for your job as well. I love positive feedback, but I also love negative feedback as well. And I have a complete document just for that, and I have it dated. I stayed competitive by really honing in on my USP, and continuing to adapt to the problems in society. So, for example, if it's very costly, the Coke ban, like people stopped drinking Coke, I gave an alternative and I was aware of it. So having awareness of what's going on in the country really helped. thank you for being so lovely with your comments as well. Oh, that's really sweet, James. Used to actual clients. I reached out to them and spoke to them. I showed them my social media rather than them finding me on there. And then now people just reach out to me and I evaluate them as a client. I can be a bit more choosy. Perfect. So I've gone through the questions. I know that I did them very quick, but if you have any others, please feel free to reach out on them.
Thank you so much, Levi. That was really inspiring. And like, I think it just shows, even if you're not sure of what to do, if you keep trialing and persevering, you will get there and something will fit right with you and fill your cup. Like, I think particularly going to networking events where you don't necessarily know if it's right for you is such a valuable one, because you just don't know who you're going to talk to. And like you said, someone doing floristry might have a completely different perspective, but it's actually going to be able to fuel the fire in your heart that actually really help you. So thank you so much for that, Levi. I thought it was really inspiring and really useful, and I hope people found that helpful. And of course, you've already offered your LinkedIn, but I can pop that in the follow-up email, which will be coming next week. And I will be a bit trying to do the YouTube, but bear with me, it's not a skill that I am that all familiar with, but I'm trying. So yeah, again, if you're an alum that has recently graduated, then DMU Made is there to help you for your entrepreneurial endeavours. And if you are just an alum in just general ethos and you want to stay connected, please do get back in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, thank you very much. Keep an eye out for the next Alumni Speaker Series, which will be advertised in the quarterly alumni newsletter going out in August/September. And we look forward to having you again. Thank you so much, Levi, and thank you everyone for your questions. It was really appreciated.
You were all really lovely. Thank you. You made it so much easier.
Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely weekend and drink lots of water.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.